Right now, in a museum, there's a cracked piece of dried mud. It doesn't look like much, but it might be one of the reasons cities exist. In 612 BCE, an army set fire to a palace library in a city called Nineveh, trying to erase an empire forever. Instead, the fire baked the clay tablets hard, like bricks. The fire meant to destroy history is why we can still read it today. So let's go back. Picture a strip of land between two rivers in what's now Iraq. Rich soil, but unpredictable, dangerous flooding. This is the Fertile Crescent, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Persian Gulf, cradling the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. If you farmed here, you had two choices: get organized or starve. Around 4000 BCE, people chose to get organized. The Sumerians dug irrigation canals to control the floodwater and built the very first cities the world had ever seen. Then they invented something even bigger: writing, wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay with a cut reed. We call it cuneiform. Once a tablet dried in the sun, there was no editing it. Professional scribes trained for years just to write correctly the first time. But Sumer wasn't one kingdom. It was rival city-states, constantly fighting each other over land, water, and power. Around 2334 BCE, a king named Sargon conquered them all and built the very first empire in recorded history. That empire eventually fell too, and a new pattern began: rise, collapse, rebuild. Mesopotamia would repeat it again and again. Around 1800 BCE, a new city rose to power. You've definitely heard its name before: Babylon. Under King Hammurabi, Babylon did something no ruler had done before. It wrote its laws down, in public, for everyone to see. 282 laws, carved into stone. Before this, the law was whatever the king felt like that day. Now it was fixed. Hammurabi's empire eventually collapsed too, and for a while, a new power took over the region entirely: Assyria. The Assyrians built a brutal, efficient military machine and a messenger network that could cross their empire in about a week. Their capital, Nineveh, became a center of learning, home to one of the very first libraries in human history. That's the library from the very beginning of this video, the one that burned and was preserved by its own destruction. But Babylon wasn't finished. Under a people called the Chaldeans, Babylon rose again, more dazzling than ever before. Under King Nebuchadnezzar II, Babylon became the richest city on earth, its gates covered in glazed blue tile. Ancient writers described a legendary garden rising like a green mountain in the desert, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Here's the honest twist. Historians actually debate if the gardens were ever in Babylon at all. No trace has ever been found there. One researcher argues they were actually built earlier, in Nineveh, by an Assyrian king, and later writers simply mixed up the cities. What isn't debated is what Babylon's astronomers accomplished at night. They mapped 5 planets using nothing but their eyes and math. They built a counting system based on 60. It's why your clock still has 60 seconds in a minute, right now. Look at what just happened. Writing became law. Law became infrastructure. Infrastructure became science. Nothing here was really separate. Every time an empire collapsed, the next one didn't start from zero. They inherited the writing, the laws, the ideas, and pushed further. The empires were fragile. They all fell eventually. But the ideas inside those clay tablets never actually disappeared. So here's a question for you. If every empire collapsed, but the ideas survived anyway, what does that tell you about what makes civilization last?